watch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans.
Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it's so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome in to the Monday edition of the JP Peterson Show. All week, we are not in Super Bowl, obviously, like we were last year, but that's okay. After that LA experience, I don't know if I can do another one, even if it's not in LA. After a gimmick weekend, we got so much to get to. My good friend Nick Geddes is back from his bachelor party soiree. You made it, man. I'm happy to see you here this morning. Hungover, tired. Look a little bloated there too.
I'm a little bloated.
Did you get a little Bud Light going this weekend?
No, I had a little bit of an upgrade over there.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Miller Lite.
Oh, it tastes great. That's filling. Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Was it fun?
It was very fun. I had a lot of fun, not a lot of sleep. As I told you, we're out till 3 o'clock on Friday night and Saturday night.
In
Charleston.
Oh, sorry.
In Charleston.
Charleston.
Otherwise known as Charlestown. I learned that on a tour.
Really?
I learned that on a tour. But we
went on a history tour?
Yeah, like a
Good
harbor
for you.
tour.
Good
Harbor
for
tour.
you,
We went to like
yes.
Fort Sumter, and then we came like around
Fort
where the bridge
Sumter's-
was.
Yeah.
It was really cool, and you could drink on the boat too, which was nice. So it was cold though. It was very cold.
Right. And what happened at Fort Sumter? That is a big part of American history. And did you know this before you went? Did you learn about this in school, or did you only learn it on this tour?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't really listening to the tour.
Really?
I was not really listening to the tour, no.
So you don't know the historical
I
significance
used
of
to
Fort
be
Sumter.
a big history nut,
Yeah.
and I've completely lost all of it. So
Civil
I couldn't
War,
really tell you anymore.
Whole nine.
I couldn't tell you anymore.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. Well, we won't do any history lessons this morning, but we will talk about the gimmick weekend that was for and the Lightning certainly were well invested in the All-Star Game, and Erik Erlendsson's going to join us at 11 o'clock to talk some hockey, and also Greg Wolf, who was the MC of all the festivities. If you have not checked out Greg Wolf's Instagram from this past weekend, the thing I love about my friend Greg and my coworker at the Lightning is he's the ultimate fan. Like, he's a fan. He's not like, I've been in broadcasting all my life. Greg is a terrific MC, obviously, because he does all these All-Star games and did the stadium series at Fenway Park, the outdoor game. He's the best in the business, especially when it comes to NHL. But he's also a fan. So when he takes you behind the scenes with his Instagram, he does it as a fan. And he gets every freaking selfie that he can get with these guys. Well, it's not a selfie, I guess, if you have guys in it, right? But he gets every picture and takes every picture like a fan. And it really immerses you in that. You know, I still have a bit of a jaded journalist feeling to me, which is sad. But he does it in such a, he really enjoys it as a fan, and he takes you through that experience. So we're going to have him on at 10:45 to talk about that whole NHL All-Star experience, which I watched a little bit of it. I watched a lot of the Lightning stuff, and that was cool.
Of all the gimmick things that were going on this weekend,
right?
I think that was the best one. It was a lot better than we sat down at one point a little bit on Friday night, I think, was Thursday night when they had the Pro Bowl skills competition a little bit.
Yeah.
And they hyped it up like, oh, we're going to show you the best catches. Like, they had the best catch category, but it wasn't live.
Yeah.
It was like pre-taped in some kind of like Las Vegas mall.
Yeah.
It was just such a disconnect. And I heard it was the same thing for the NHL All-Star Game with the skills competition.
Yeah.
Where a lot of like the skills things were pre-taped.
Yeah.
That's just weird.
I don't know. I guess it's all, to make it a clean. And I will say this, there has been skills competition, especially with the NHL, the live stuff, it tends to drag. It tends to really drag at times. I don't know why, they can't get it, working. I'm sure it must be very, very tough to do in that. I think what they thought was, okay, let's tape it and we can package it up and edit it and make it really, really pop. But I don't know. I don't think that worked either.
No, I'll give an A for effort for Peyton and Eli Manning, though.
Yeah.
For trying to make it investable. I mean, Peyton Manning was so pissed off yesterday when he was invested when the West got knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah, he was jobbed. He wanted to win on a technicality. Can't have a running play. Well, okay, kneel down. It is what it is. Anyway, if you watched it, to me, I was excited. Remember, I was excited last week. I don't know if that was a show we did together, but I wanted to see them play real flag football. And they did, but it was half speed. It was half speed.
The only highlight that I saw that made me kind of go, oh, maybe I should tune in, like, because I was driving back during the game, and I think it was Jalen Ramsey who hit Tyreek Hill, I want to say.
He did.
And I couldn't tell if Tyreek Hill was, like, really bothered by that or not.
It was more of they ran into each other. He didn't hit him. He was trying to make a play, and they ran into each other than anything. And Tyreek Hill he didn't care. So, yeah, it was okay. I mean, it wasn't any worse than the regular Pro Bowl.
No, it wasn't.
And I would say it was better than that. It was better than the Pro Bowl just becomes such a farce.
Yeah.
At least this was, you saw some good throws, some good catches. That was cool. That was fun. So I think honestly for the football All-Star game, that's about the best we could hope for. Probably
so. But like I said, I think the Manning's involvement was like probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because they're funny.
Yeah. I don't think I think they're, you have a celebrity game. That's kind of cool. You can do that. I don't think getting celebrities playing with the NFL players would be good, but I don't know. It's all gimmicky. And we had a gimmicky race this week in NASCAR, right? That the thing in Los Angeles, that just doesn't work. The race doesn't work.
It's so cool up until the actual race.
Yeah.
Like, it looks so cool when
It's
they do driver introductions.
It's such an LA thing. The show is good.
Yeah.
But the substance is zero.
Well, I mean,
just like the Grammys. If you watched any of that,
goodness gracious.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, because you got how many cars were in that race? I don't even know, like 25, 30 maybe, and they're on a little like go-kart track kind of.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's ridiculous. I think there was like 18 cautions.
Yeah, the racing is just unwatchable. Well, we got Daytona coming up though. I may want to. We haven't done a lot on Daytona. We need to maybe just get into that a little bit this year. But I've lost all interest in NASCAR. I used to be.
A lot of new faces.
I mean,
a lot of new faces.
When I worked in North Carolina, this was in 96 and 97, I literally went to every track and almost every race in that area. And I was so into it. We were doing NASCAR stories probably once or twice a week, going out to garages and, really into it. And the more you know about NASCAR and how they make adjustments, and it's really technical stuff, but it's equal to, if you're a football fan, really getting into the strategy of football. And it makes it infinitely more interesting. But I just, the faces now, I don't even know half the drivers, maybe 2/3 of the drivers I've never even heard of. So I don't know.
There's not enough personalities in the sport. That's the problem.
But the spectacle of Daytona remains. That is a spectacle. And watching, 43 cars nose to tail, on about the second or third lap when they come up to speed and they're all still in line coming into turn one, and that tri-oval is effing unbelievable. If you've never experienced that in person, I'd say it's a top 10 bucket list as far as sports go. I don't care who's driving the freaking cars. It's amazing to watch that and feel it, because it doesn't transfer on TV. You got to feel it. You got to smell it. The vibrations, hear it. You got to get all your senses involved, and it's pretty tremendous. So maybe we'll get into that. If y'all want us to, we will definitely do it. We can get some drivers on. We can do a lot with it, but we just haven't done in the past. But we'd like to. So if you guys want to give us some feedback on that, if you want to get back into it, or just for Daytona, we'd love to do it. Have you ever been to the race?
I have been to every race at Daytona except for the 500.
Except for the 500.
I've been to the Busch one, or whatever, the Xfinity it's called now. I've been to all the clashes. There used to be the Gatorade duels, if you recall.
Yeah.
I've been to everything except for the 500.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool experience. All right, so let's get into some of the news of the day. This just broke. The Bucs are going to re-interview Dan Pitcher, quarterback's coach for the Bengals. He was previously interviewed, and that tells me that probably Todd Monken is unavailable. You weren't here on Friday, so I had a little exchange with a former NFL player over the weekend or last week about Todd Monken and the Bucs situation. And basically kind of like what we were telling you guys, that, Todd Monken is not coming to the Buccaneers unless Tom Brady was here. And when Tom Brady took himself out, obviously, to me, that was a sign that Monken wasn't going to come here unless the Glazers wanted to do something incredibly bold and make Monken the head coach and have him handpick his quarterback. And maybe that's Derek Carr. Maybe that's Baker Mayfield, who he had success with in Cleveland. That's, to me, the only way you get Monken. And my exchange was basically, and this is somebody who knows Todd Monken as well from his time here at Tampa Bay. Said Monken is smart with 3 exclamation points. Get along with Monken, tough guy, no nonsense, not very personable to many people, laughing emojis. I know he wants to get back to the pros, but not sure about him taking a job without quarterback trigger guy. Bowles has a lot to figure out with next year's team. To which I responded, agreed, not sure why he would want to come here. He's got options. I like guys like that. I hate the ass kissers. I think the Bucs should hire him as the head coach. Love Bowles as a man, but he's not a head coach, in my opinion. Doesn't have enough a-hole in him. Too nice of a guy. And he responded, true. And I do believe that. And I've said this much about Todd. I love him to death, and I think he's an amazing man. I just don't think he's a great head coach. And there's a lot that there's just too much evidence to suggest that he's not a great head coach. And I think you're hearing a lot more people talk about the lack of accountability that we saw on this team this year. And even that Brady thought things would be much better, it would be a much tighter ship. But what we realize is BA was the guy that held people accountable. He was the one, he was kind of the, maybe, I don't know if this is overstating it, kind of the father figure that you just didn't want to point, kind of like disappoint, kind of like a Tony Dungy. But of course, Bruce would get after your ass, and he would also embarrass people in public. And embarrass is a wrong word. He would hold them accountable publicly. And Todd would never do that. He would never do that of a coach, of a player, anytime. Ask pointed questions about people. I think the Giovanni Bernard mistake was about as far as he would ever go, and that was as obvious as the nose on your face. So, and I just, for that reason, I think the Glazers should be looking for a head coach as well. But that's just me. And is it fair to Todd? We can debate that. He didn't get to hire a staff, but he was given, the greatest quarterback of all time. Not in his prime, clearly, but still a guy that had won, 13 games the year before and a Super Bowl the year before that. And obviously it was a much different situation. We could talk about all those things, but there have been other coaches that have been handed much worse hands than Todd Bowles was handed. Let's just be honest. That was a really good team. And it wasn't the Super Bowl team. I get that, but it just, the way this team played and the constant mistakes, even up to the end, told me, So the Bucs are going to hire an OC and Dan Pitcher, who's, I don't know. He may be the next great OC. I don't know a whole lot about the guy, to be honest with you. He's the quarterback coach for Joe Burrow. It's like the tennis coach for Serena Williams, I think, you got something really good to work with. Is it the coach or is it the player? I'm going to go with the player. So I don't, and that's not to disparage him, but I don't know how much of an impact this guy has had on who Joe Burrow is. He was pretty damn good in college. And obviously the head coach there is an offensive guy. So, we're getting a template for, something he knows how to get good football out of Joe Burrow. But is that something that as a coach is unlocking? I don't know. So we'll see. At this point, it seems to me, to be brutally honest, I mean, you have a coach here that's in a lame duck situation, and certainly, the Bucs are giving him another year, not based on anything that we saw this year as a head coach. As I said on Friday, I'm like, give me a bunch of reasons of things that you saw from Todd Bowles this year that tells you he's going to be a great head coach. Like, what is it that you saw? And of course, we're not behind the scenes, but from what we saw on the field, it just wasn't there. So you have a lame duck coach, and you're going to get an offensive coordinator who doesn't know who his quarterback is. So you're not going to get the best of the best. They are going to have other options. Like, obviously, Tom Monken has had a second interview with the Ravens now, not a second interview with the Buccaneers. So the Bucs are in a bad situation right now. I don't know how they get out of it. And again, to me, a bold move of, giving Monken the head coaching job and the offensive, having him rebuild his offensive staff. And, you still got to hire offensive staff as well, receivers coach, running backs coach, right? So all that. Now, if Todd Monken comes in, you're like, okay, well, maybe they're giving him a bigger leash. He'll be around here longer. We can build something here. We're bringing in an experienced quarterback, whether it be Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield. Now there's some momentum there. Okay, crappy division, and those teams will get better, right? Those teams will get better, but still a very winnable division, which gets you a home playoff game. To me, this is not a time to rebuild just simply because how bad the division is. that gets you a ticket into the tournament. And then who knows what happens, right? You stay healthy during the year. You draft 3 or 4 players that really make an impact. A couple free agents come in that you hit on. You get the right quarterback. You're in the tournament, right? To me, if you got a great team in your division that you have to rebuild and go after, it's a different situation. So I don't think that's where I think the Bucs should be going.
And let me ask you too, because we're all trying to figure out who's going to be quarterbacking this team. And of course, we got a lot of time to figure that out. But I saw a report over this weekend that there was buzz at the Pro Bowl about Derek Carr and the Bucs.
Yeah.
And then I saw J.C. Allen put something out there that my gut feeling is what he said. I'm paraphrasing. My gut feeling tells me that Derek Carr will be a Buc by the end of the month. That's from J.C. Allen from Pewter Report. And and a lot of people saying, okay, well, he's out of the Bucs price range. Well, the Raiders, I mean, they're going to be forced to basically cut him by February 15th, likely.
I don't know why they won't allow Carr agent to seek a trade. Why would you? Are you telling me he has no trade value? Well, with his contract, it's $40 million.
These teams know that the Raiders they're not going to take on that $40 million because that's going to screw them up. So they could just wait for him to cut him, and then you can get him at your own price, probably way less than $40 million.
But there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks.
There are. I'm just saying,
and if you trade for him, you got to pick up the contract, but you got him.
Yeah, my question there is it worth it for the Bucs? Because they're going to have to still restructure a lot of money to get Derek Carr in the building. It's kind of similar to the whole Brady thing, right? You bring Brady back, you bring the band back, you still have to restructure a lot of things. Would you do the same thing for a Derek Carr?
I would. I think Derek Carr with this team as it's constituted with Mike Evans. And by the way, I was talking about trading Mike Evans. I thought his contract was all salary. Evidently, if you cut him, I didn't look at this close enough, so it's my bad. If you cut him, you're going to lose it. You got to take a cap charge. $15 million.
So then you don't have Mike Evans and you're $15 million.
You're paying him, so that's silly. No, don't trade Mike Evans. So I was wrong about that. Needed to do my homework on that, and I did not. So yeah, you have Mike Evans, you have Godwin, you've got hopefully a healthy Russell Gage. Remember how hopeful we were about him and how everybody loved him and how productive he was. I think he's a good teammate. Just in talking to him, I think he's a good dude. I think he's a good culture guy. So I would have hope for him. I think Devin Tompkins is a guy that gives you speed and can play in this league. I'd like to see him use that. And you go draft the guy. You get maybe not in the first round because I'm more of an edge rusher first round. We got to get some pressure on the quarterback. But you still can draft the receiver down the road, and get a really, really good one in the second, third, fourth round. You don't know. So there's a lot of things that can happen here. And it just, to me, this doesn't look like a tear it to the studs situation. This looks to me like we can go get another veteran quarterback. And it doesn't have to be Derek Carr, but here's the thing though. Derek Carr is holding a lot of the cards here, because if Derek Carr wants to be a Buccaneer, he's got a no trade clause, right? So and this may be why the Raiders aren't necessarily allowing him to seek a trade, although it still seems weird. If he wants to go to the Bucs, he can make that happen at his price. He can say, avoid every trade that you're going to do. I'm going to avoid. So you have to release me. So then they release him, and then he works out a deal with the Bucs, and he comes here and plays. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at some of the other situations. Where else would he go? I mean, I think Rodgers is probably going to the Raiders now.
Yeah, the Raiders seem like the favorite now.
Yeah. So that opens up the Jets. With the Jets, obviously they have more ammunition, they have more money. Does he want to go there? Is that a situation that he would like better than Tampa Bay? I think the fact, and this is a little bit of the Brady residue, the fact that Brady came here, I think really lifts the resume for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel like Derek Carr feels like a New York quarterback.
No, doesn't.
It takes a certain guy.
Right.
And I just don't think, and I'm not saying Derek Carr can't handle himself, because I think he can, but I just can't see it in New York.
I don't either. I think, I don't know. And, I don't know if Dan Pitcher has connections to Derek Carr. Who has connections to Derek Carr?
Derek Carr's only been at one spot his entire career for the last 10 years. He's been in Cincinnati in various roles.
Yeah.
Who's got one experience.
Well, there's a local guy who's called plays that has had some experience with Derek Carr.
Who would that be?
John Gruden.
Oh, okay. We're done. We're done there. We're done.
Then you got to put him back in the Ring of Honor. Not kidding. Just kidding. But stranger things have happened, right? but I don't know if I'm the Buccaneers. To me, that's a way I would go. I would start zeroing in on that and say, what do I have to do to get Derek Carr here? How is that involved in obviously that would be very much a part of what OC you get. And, is that a head coaching thing? Or is it I don't know. But to me, that would be Derek Carr is out there and he's available. And if he wants to come to the Buccaneers, you got to make that happen.
And at the end of the day, that keeps you in the game.
Absolutely.
It keeps you in the game. Because you're still going to be the best team in the division. I think even if you brought in a stopgap quarterback, i.e. a Sam Darnold, i.e. a Jacoby Brissett, even if you brought in a guy like that, I still think you're the best team in this division. I still think you're there. I'll wait and see, I guess, to see what Carolina does. But
you swept the Saints. You split with Carolina.
In Atlanta.
Yeah, well, the last game
doesn't really count.
Yeah, it doesn't really count.
And I think Atlanta still has a long ways to go.
Well, Atlanta, I think Atlanta would have won that first game if not for a bad call. I still believe that. So I think they may be closer than you think. I think that's why I don't think a Jacoby Brissett does that for you. I don't think a Sam Darnold does that for you. I think a Derek Carr is head and shoulders above both of those guys.
And this would be the best roster I think Derek Carr has been on.
Certainly the best defense he's ever played.
Yeah, and even for the faults that the O-line had, you give me the healthy version of the Bucs O-line with a second year of Robert Hainsey, probably sliding over to left guard, and let's see what happens with left tackle. It might be the best offensive line he's had in a long time because I know some of the ones he had at some points there in Oakland are really good. Yeah, but it's been a long time.
And I know people have Hainsey slotted for left guard. I like what Nick Leverett did last year. I would move Hainsey out to right tackle where he played in college. That's where I'd move him. I know they think he's more of an interior guy.
No, we already mentioned Luke Gedeke. I mean, that was his natural position. If you spent a premium pick on Luke Gedeke, maybe test him out of his right tackle position.
Look at the tape. Nick Leverett improved this team dramatically.
Yeah, and I still would have Aaron Stinnie in the mix pushing because I think that was Aaron Stinnie's job most likely if he doesn't get hurt.
Well, we got competition.
There's competition
there, and you're probably going to draft a tackle as well. And this is all assuming you're cutting Donovan Smith. And I've heard a lot of different things about cap situations. I'm getting a lot of different, reads on this. I've heard if you get rid of him, it's a $9 million savings or $10 million savings. Then I saw today, 15.2 million savings.
I think it's $9 million.
Yeah.
They would lose. I think it'd be like 10 million dead cap, but you save 9.
Yeah. Anyway, it's significant. It's significant. So I think, no, I still believe I was listening to the Joe Bucs fan podcast. And I think our good friend Ira Kaufman is kind of a, let's tear it down a mentality. And I get that. I kind of get that. But I just think if it wasn't for how bad this division is how gettable this division is, I would think about tearing it down. No question about it. But I think you still, and here's the other thing from a business standpoint, and you got to remember this, the Glazers are business folks, right? They're business folks. They have promised a lot of their sponsors, a lot of these sponsorships were done for 5 years. These luxury box deals, premium box deals were for 5 years. It's my understanding, a lot of these. So you got a lot of, there's a lot of people that are involved in this in terms of big time money in your organization. And they're not going to take kindly to a complete teardown and, Kyle Trask and a bunch of, 7th round picks running around out there getting their ass kicked.
And I don't think the Glazers
nobody in the stadium
and I think
1 o'clock games. That's not a thing.
The Glazers, who also just went 13 years of owning a franchise without seeing one playoff game.
Yeah.
And now they've gotten a taste of it for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just no way they're going to opt for a rebuild. There's no way.
And this is the other thing about the rebuild. And the other guys on the Joe Bucs fan, Steve and Lee, were kind of in this camp as well. That's what I told you as well. There's no guarantees on the rebuild, right? If you tear it down, because I'm going to go get Caleb Williams. Well, there's no guarantee you're going to get him.
The league's going to be doing that.
Yeah, there's no guarantee you're going to get Drake May. There's no guarantee you're going to get any of these guys. So you're going to take it in, in the shorts. And then what do you got? You're still searching. So if you can be relevant, and that's not fair to Mike Evans, it's not fair. Not that fair is part of this. I get it, but you want to keep guys involved. You want to keep them. Mike Evans has still got some good years left. Ryan Jensen's a badass. And listen, and I'm not. This is not a shot at Tom Brady, but let's see this offense work with a guy who can move in the pocket. And Derek Carr can move. He can move. He's not Lamar Jackson, I get it, but he can move, he can waggle, he can bootleg, he can throw on the run. He can do a lot of things that Tom Brady could not do, okay? And I think that's important in today's game. Pass rushes are too good. You're sitting in the same spot. We saw what that does to your running game and what it does to your passing game. And it's one of the reasons Tom Brady retired, to be quite honest. He knows that there aren't a lot of options with him back there. He can't take hits. Can't run, can't do any of those things. It's hard to run an offense like that, even with Tom Brady and his great arm.
Which, by the way, I'll caution you before everybody goes look. Go look at Tom Brady's Twitter and his latest post.
Jesus.
If you want to see evidence for why Tom Brady did not want to get hit this year.
Well, I didn't realize that this year was setting him up for his underwear modeling career.
It's taken off.
It really has.
He's gone the Ronaldo route.
He really has.
This is what you do now.
The dude is like rail thin.
Rail thin.
Yeah.
It looks like
zero body fat.
Yeah. It doesn't look right.
It doesn't. No.
So I can tell
the whole picture doesn't look right.
When I see that photo, I'm like, okay, I see now why you didn't want to take any hits.
Yeah. Well, you're standing at the podium. You look. I would guess right now. I mean, he played most of his career at like 225, 230, right? I'd guess right now he's about 205, maybe 195. He's thin. I mean, really, really thin. So anyway, now we're moving on. And as Jeremy Lowe said, and I agree with this, Gage should restructure and create $6 million in cap space per Pewter Report's Josh Capo. Absolutely, he should, but will he? That's his money. He ain't going to get another big contract. So.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been a lot of guys come through here, even when this team was not good, and everybody has restructured, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I haven't seen
restructure
anybody...
it, and he's still going to get the same amount of guaranteed money. He'll do it. Well, he should do it if he's smart. But I don't think he's leaving any money on the table here. Jordan says if coaches digress in year one, they tend to continue to digress. If they continue an upward trend from year one in a job, they tend to trend upwards. Usually year one is a writing on the wall. I agree with you 100%. Go back and there have been some teams
outliers.
Yeah, there's some outliers, but again, it's not even to me what your record was or whether you won a division or not. Watch the team play. Look at the circumstances of the team. Watch it play. The first game last year, when we were still kind of under the accountability of the old regime, right, was their best game. They destroyed the Dallas Cowboys. And as the season went on, the team got less accountable and less accountable and less accountable.
And this is
That's
the weird
not
thing.
The mark of a good head coach.
And this is the weird thing, I guess. And I hate to keep bringing this stuff up, and I'm still asking myself so many questions. I need a deep dive into this season. We talked about on the outside looking in, the accountability that Bruce Arians brought. And then we find out, Tom Brady thought maybe Todd Bowles would have even more accountability. And he finds out that there's really no accountability. Like, to me, that's like the most telling thing is when the greatest player of all time miscalculates you as a head coach. He kind of went to, that's almost to me like he went to bat for you.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like, and you didn't deliver.
It's bottom
and
line
as a head coach, I mean, that's what we're saying. We've spent so much time picking apart whatever Brady's part of the offense and Leftwich, and rightfully so. But at the same time, the head coach can't get a pass for all this stuff.
No, absolutely not. And y'all want to scapegoat Byron Leftwich, you can. But I'm sorry. The head coach has the ability to fire people anytime he wants. And he could have done it at the bye week, and he chose not to. And if you don't do that, and I would guess right now, if you had a private conversation with Todd Bowles, that would be his biggest regret. That would be his biggest regret. For whatever reason, he didn't do it, whether he was trying to stay loyal to BA, which I totally get, because you got your opportunity because of Bruce Arians, right? And now you're going to go fire a guy who he has really gone to bat for. I mean, that's a tough thing to do. I get it. I mean, that's gut-wrenching, right?
And looking at it from that angle, remember the quote that he had in his final press conference was, I promise when you come back next year, you're going to see a new accountability from this team. It's almost like new culture and accountability. It's almost like him, like he looked at it and said, man, I really messed up this year. I didn't set the tone when I needed to. And maybe he thought that, with Brady being around, it was going to come from him. But I think as a head coach, it's got to come from you.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for the 5-year stint in New York, I would be, let's see,
that's my thing. We're like almost 90 games into him here as a head coach of the National Football League.
You've got a lot of sample size here.
And I'm sorry, I hate to keep saying it. It's lame duck.
Yeah.
It's as lame duck as it gets right now.
And if I'm the Buccaneers, I mean, just this OC search, coming back full circle here, this OC search is indicative of what you're doing again. It's again, you're middling it. You're middling it. And you gotta rip the Band-Aid off, man. This NFL it's a gut-wrenching, hard-ass business. And it has no room for feelings. Okay. And it doesn't. And if you're the owner of this team and you look at the way your team performed, and now you're trying to get an OC and you don't know who your quarterback is and your coach is perceived as a lame duck, this is not the place to be. You got to do something bold. I mean, bold. And now again, could you bring in Derek Carr with an OC and Todd Bowles as the head coach? Do you have a good chance to win the division? Yes, you do. I still think you do.
It's not just a Bucs thing, though, when you talk about being an attractive job because you don't have a quarterback. I mean, there's teams that still haven't filled head coaching positions around the league still. Right. I mean, the Colts are like going 4 weeks into this. They're going to like 3rd round and 4th round of interviews. I don't know who wants these jobs.
And that's after firing your coach midseason. You've been thinking about this for 3 months.
Yeah, so now. The Bucs are kind of in the same boat. And I think that's why maybe you're seeing a lot of these things are dragging out this year. Yeah, because more than ever, teams know I need a quarterback in this league. And all these teams that are open, they all got quarterback uncertainty questions. All of them. Yeah. And I think that's what's causing a lot of this to be so delayed right now.
And what's going to fall first?
And we're kind of waiting. Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Is it going to be Derek Carr now? Like Tom Brady was the first domino, and now I think those are the next 2 guys that we're all kind of waiting on.
Yeah, and I don't think you've ever seen a year. Well, last year was unprecedented, and just in the last few years, you're seeing what I would perceive as really good quarterbacks on the open market. I mean, you never used to see that. Like that never happened, right? And now you're seeing it a lot with Brady. And you know,
it's the NBA model.
Yeah. And it just so I right now I don't know. The Bucs just seem to be in limbo, big time. They're in limbo, and the Glazers are going to have to make a bold move to get them heading in the direction that they want to go. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. Erik Erlendsson's going to join us at 11 o'clock. Greg Wolf, 10:45 on the NHL All-Star Game. Bolts back at it tonight against the stinking Panthers. So we'll get some hockey talk going as well. And we got some USF football stories to get to, all kinds of stuff. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source. The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry super center with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Coming back at you.
Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Khris Lugo is going to join us at 11:45, as he always does on Mondays. We'll talk about the Patrick Mahomes high ankle sprain injury and how that will play out this week in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Also, if you did not see this, this is a really interesting story in The Athletic. The Ryan Jensen stem cell story. Oh, where did we hear that? As we told you months ago, Ryan Jensen was using stem cells to be the first player to ever return from a torn ACL, PCL, MCL without surgery. And he did it. And I told you at the time, it's going to be groundbreaking. It's going to be the biggest injury story, rehab story in years and years and years. And the story in The Athletic was just, it was incredible. You read the whole thing. I read most of it. What was your take on it?
I'm learning like everybody, I think, with the stem cells things, but this number, 150 million stem cells in Antigua.
Yeah. 9
days in a hotel room in a full leg cast, enough Uber Eats to gain 12 pounds, a little pressure from a certain quarterback named Tom Brady, a comeback for the ages was how Dan Pompey, who wrote the article for The Athletic, put it. And it's just
great story.
It really was a fantastic story. And kind of Jensen kind of talking about, I'm a football guy and I play football. And, you know, and it's like kind of we were talking about how guys are starting to come back from these injuries like a lot quicker. And who knows, there might be other guys who have done this recently. We talked about Cam Akers, who came back so quickly from his Achilles tear. Who knows? Maybe he had taken stem cells. Obviously, Ryan felt good enough to make it public.
They're not illegal.
Yeah.
And they're not against, the banned substances. And why they're not more readily available in the United States is just another indictment of our medical system. You know why they're not? Because stem cells they're a miracle, and they can cure so many diseases that big pharma makes a lot of money on. And if you don't know by now, folks, big pharma runs our medical system, and they don't want stem cells around because, again, they will preclude, orthopedic surgeons. Watch out. There's a lot of money invested in orthopedic surgeons, folks, and hip replacements and knee replacements and all this stuff. And stem cells, I'm here to tell you, Dr. Locks did my knees 5 years ago, and I'm starting to get as he said, after 5 years, you got to retune it up. And the difference in my knees in the last 6 months, as opposed to the previous 5 years, I'm back to where I was, square one. And damn right, I'm going to get stem cells done again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I really do think it's cool that he made it back. His goal the entire time was to get back for the playoffs, and he made it happen. When you talk about guys that you want on your football team, I mean, I think Ryan, if you look at this football team in particular, everybody that's left, I think Ryan Jensen's like number one, honestly. We talked about missing like that fight that he had in the park down there in the offensive line. And you read this stuff, everything that he went through to get back. That's exactly what the Bucs were missing.
Yes.
Was a player with that mentality.
Yes. 100%.
That story encapsulates it so much.
Let me just read a couple of excerpts here. In the days after Jensen's injury, 5 doctors, to no one's surprise, recommended surgery. But McCartney, his agent, wasn't satisfied with what he was hearing. About a year earlier, McCartney had disc surgery to relieve numbness and weakness. Surgery didn't help, but a subsequent stem cell treatment did. Chad Prodromos, the Chicago area doctor who treated McCartney with stem cells, once worked for the Patriots and edited a textbook on the science and reconstructions of ACLs. Last year, after 38 years of surgery, he retired his scalpel to focus on regenerative medicine and stem cell treatment. Prodromos told McCartney he did not recommend surgery for Jensen because of the extent of his injuries. How about that? How about that? Quote, having been a knee surgeon, I know that when you try to fix all those structures at once, you can get tremendous amounts of scarring, a loss of motion, and the results are often not good, Prodromos says. He referred McCartney and Jensen to Don Shelbourne, an Indianapolis orthopedic doctor who pioneered the non-operative approach that Prodromos thought would work for Jensen. Shelbourne concurred with Prodromos that surgery might not be necessary. His research has shown tears of the MCL and PCL can heal with immobilization and therapy, and the ACL needs repair only if completely torn. Whether Jensen's ACL was completely torn wouldn't be known for 2 months while the swelling subsided. Well, there you go. There was 2 months of swelling. Our apologies. Prodromos also believes stem cell infusion could strengthen Jensen's ligaments and accelerate healing. How about that?
I guess it all does make sense now why they kept this so quiet too.
Yeah.
When you read all these details.
Yeah. And that's why we knew this was happening. That's why I knew it was happening, and also had some intel on this as well, which is why we told you about it. And frankly, you know, we had told you that they thought he could come back a little bit earlier. I think as the season progressed, they were doing that risk assessment. Like if they weren't going to be able to make it to the playoffs, I don't think he would have come back. They would have continued to do this and not risk any setbacks. So they played him at the time that they had to play him when they needed him the most. And it worked out pretty well. Let me see. I'm trying to get to the point where we're talking about some of the other things. Okay, for the first week in November, Jensen flew to the Caribbean island of Antigua. Remember Khris Lugo telling us he's going down to Costa Rica or Antigua or one of these places? Yeah, right on. To be injected with 150 million stem cells taken from umbilical cords donated from term cesarean section births. Jensen was warned he might feel cold because the stem cells were frozen in liquid nitrogen. After the third and final IV bag was emptied, he started shivering uncontrollably. 15 minutes wrapped in a heated blanket made everything right. In the coming weeks, Jensen experienced weird sensations. He had torn the ulnar collateral ligament in his elbow a couple of times and now felt soreness and vibrations in the joint. That was his joint healing, by the way. He experienced similar feelings in other places where he likely has inflammation, his back, feet, ankles, and finally his knee. In the following month, Jensen kept passing tests. He was able to run on an anti-gravity treadmill and push a sled, first in the weight room and then on the field. Took some pass sets to work on his feet. The first time he ran on grass, he felt like a foal. But the third time, his stride was back. Bobby told me I should expect swelling as I amp things up, but I wasn't swelling. He's like, this is working. I don't understand why, but it's working. So, yeah, this is behind a paywall, so I'll try to get a copy of it out to you guys so you can read the whole thing, because it is or better yet, spend $1 and get The Athletic, for God's sakes. It's $1 a month, go pay for it. This article alone is well worth it. So, yeah, just go get it. It's an incredible story. Here's another little excerpt that's interesting as well. Well, we got to get to Greg Wolf, so we'll take a break. And Khris Lugo is going to be on at 11:45, and he read this article as well. So we're really going to get into it at 11:45. So if you're interested in this, And I got to get a stem cell freaking advertisement out of this, no doubt about it.
I was going to say, by the way, I'm going to Antigua for my honeymoon, so maybe bring some back for you.
What you got? You got anything working?
I'm young and healthy. I think I'm good.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Greg Wolf will join us after his epic weekend in South Florida as the MC for the NHL All-Star Game. This is going to be a great, fun conversation. Stay with us. Quick break. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so on JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com, and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. #813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations.
The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns this March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of golf action plus a host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Sam Burns, who won in a thrilling playoff last year, is looking to make it 3 wins in a row on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. He will be challenged by a top field that includes Jordan Spieth, returning for the first time in 5 years. The 2015 Valspar champ counts 13 PGA Tour victories, including 3 majors in his career. It will be a great field and great fun. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
Let's go. Right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. Go there, contact them if your car has been totaled in an accident and you don't think you got a fair settlement, which you probably did not. They'll help you out. Find out if you have a case. You could get hundreds or thousands of dollars in return. You don't know. So give them a call. Tell them JP sent you. It's the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. All right, I want to bring in my colleague and the Lightning Game Day MC and also the NHL MC for all big events, the great Greg Wolf, joining us here. What's up, Greg? How are you?
Going on, Jay Pizzle? How are you, sir?
So freaking jealous of you, man. I'm watching your Instagram. It's like it's like a knife in the heart. No, I love it, man. I was saying this, and then you can tell me I'm totally out of my mind here, but I'm watching you and watching your Instagram and all the pictures you're posting. I'm still, I still have that jaded journalist in me, covering stuff. Sometimes I still feel like it's a media player type thing, but you're like a true fan, man. And you get the ultimate access as a fan, and you give us that experience as a fan and doing your work, which you're fantastic at. So that's what I love about your Instagram. And if you're not following Greg Wolf and you're a hockey fan or just a sports fan, you're crazy. So am I right?
I
or
agree.
am I wrong?
JP, like you said, you have to be a fan first in this business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I've had success now as the host for the Lightning for the last 16 seasons, because I was always a fan first. And I think when I'm out there hosting or doing what I'm doing, I think it comes across as such to fans that this guy's not just, like you said, a media person, or he's out here to do interviews. He's one of us. And he's, equally as excited as we are to be out there right now with those players, whether it's our own team or, in the example of this weekend with 44 of the best hockey players in the world. So I try to always give fans that first person perspective of what is Wolf doing right now? Where is he at? What is he seeing? Because again, like you said, it's that behind the scenes access that, fans don't really get a chance to see all that much. So I really took it upon myself this weekend to make sure that all the things that I was doing was an opportunity for fans to really see it through the eyes of Greg Wolf. And man, what an amazing experience this weekend was for me. And I've done, this is my third All-Star weekend, but this one really took the cake just for the fact that they put myself and Michaela Johnson, who was one of my co-hosts, she's actually from the Bruins. They put us for the skills. They put Michaela on the Western bench. They put me on the Eastern bench. And basically we had free reign to talk to the players, as we needed to be queued up by our production team. But we pretty much had free reign to do whatever we wanted and ask whoever we wanted, whatever questions we wanted. So unbelievable, man. It really was probably one of the crown jewel moments I've ever been a part of.
So what were, give me some of the highlights that were your favorites. I saw all the pictures and maybe some of the questions and the answers. What were some of the highlights?
I'll be honest with you. The most surreal thing that happened, I have a couple stories, but the most surreal experience for me, JP, was when the NHL league officials took myself and Michaela to each of the respective locker rooms before each of the teams went out onto the ice. And you're in this, you're in the hallway locker right by the locker room, and there's all these NHL league officials and team officials. And it's just like, if you're not like somebody at the top of the league, you are not anywhere near this locker room.
Right.
And so we're literally standing outside waiting for our cue to go in and address the players, because they wanted the players to all know beforehand who Michaela and I are. We are the official hosts for the NHL. So if you see these two, on the ice, they're not just some jabrones. They're not just some random media person. They are with us. And so we're standing outside of the locker rooms, and the coach is addressing his team. And you hear him go, "All right, boys, I'm going to bring in our hosts here. These are our two hosts for the league. They're going to come in and talk to you guys really quickly, just kind of address some things with you guys. So it's my pleasure right now to bring in Michaela and Greg." And you walk into the locker room, JP.
Oh my God.
And at first, the West, we started with the West, but for me, obviously, you're literally standing in front of 22 or whatever it was of the best hockey players in the world, Hall of Famers, guys that, you're in awe of. And they're all looking at us like we have their full attention. Like when we were in the East, I'm glad Michaela started talking first, because I almost was, I don't want to say I'm starstruck, because I don't really get starstruck anymore.
Right.
But when you're looking around that room and you see Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin, Nikita Kucherov, Dylan Larkin, David Pastrnak, all these dudes are looking at you and you have their full attention. I cannot describe to you what that feeling was like. It was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done. Even for, that 60 seconds, we got to talk to them and just tell them, "Hey guys, we're going to keep this fun. We're going to keep this light. Nothing serious here. You guys have made it to this point to just have some fun." And, they all seemed really receptive to what we were saying. And we kept it, like I said, short and sweet. And then we went out to the ice to do our thing. But to be in that locker room for the West, to be in that locker room for the East, and address the massive superstars that we have in the NHL, there's no other experience that could compare to what that was like.
Oh my God.
And what about this? You put this photo out here. You had Alex Ovechkin's phone in your hand. It's from what I'm reading here. And you took a picture of all the Russian players?
Yes. So this was another crazy ass story. So I'm, standing there on the ice. I'm behind the east bench, and I noticed that Ovi is corralling all the Russian players because he wants to get a picture with all the Russians together. And I guess Ovi didn't see that there was 500 camera people around the ice, but he wanted that on his phone. So I'm paying attention to like what's going on. He's got the phone. He's trying to corral the guys, and I see what he's doing. And I said, Alex, you want me to take a picture? He said, yes, thank you. And so I was like, okay. So I take his phone, and I'm standing, while he's corralling the guys, and he's getting things in position, and his phone rings. And it's not like somebody stored in his phone. It's like a random number, right? So the phone's ringing while it's in my hand. Obviously, I'm not going to answer the phone, but I'm just like, let it go to voicemail. So as it's ringing, it's going to voicemail. He's still not quite got everybody corralled, but he's pretty close. And immediately the phone goes to voicemail, and no longer does the photo icon,
right.
it's no longer open on his phone. The photo app was no longer open, right? So his phone is in Russian. Everything is in Russian. So I'm freaking out now because it's no longer set on the photo setting. But I don't want to be that a-hole that is like, well, Alex, can you retouch up your phone? I'm sorry. So I'm freaking out. Like literally, I'm like, I cannot find the photo icon on his phone. And I finally, I'm scrolling to the left, the right on Alexander Ovechkin's phone. I finally find the photo icon. I click on it. It opens the photo app, but now it's not in the normal photo mode. It's like in portrait mode. But everything again is in Russian. So I'm freaking out. Time's running out. He's finally getting the guys situated, and they're ready to take the picture. I am literally guessing which one of these settings is the regular camera. I find it. I don't know how I did it. I find it. I get the picture, and it was done. But man, I was literally freaking out at that moment. Like, I cannot believe I'm going to screw this up right now. No fault of my own, but I got it done at the very last second. And that picture that you guys saw, it's funny because the NHL photogs were not really paying attention at that time. Like, they were not near us. They were either over at the West Bench or they were doing something else. So the camera guy from the NHL finally sees what I'm doing with Alex's phone. I take the picture and I immediately give him the phone back and move out of the way. Then the NHL camera crews come behind me and they take the same picture. The picture that I posted, you can actually see me standing in the back to the left behind the guy. So that same photo is in Alex Ovechkin's phone. And then the one that the league put out and Vazzy retweeted is the same picture, but you can see me standing behind them. So, but man, that was a crazy, crazy moment because I was like, I can't be that guy that he hands me his phone to take a picture. And then I have to walk back to him to go back to your settings. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Nope, not going to be that guy. But man, that was a very tense situation. And yes, everything in his phone is in Russian.
Can you imagine if you hit that pictures icon and all the pictures come up? You're like, okay, all righty then.
Somebody told me one
or
of the fans was like, you should have sent yourself. One of the fans said you should have sent yourself a text on his phone so that you would. I was like, yeah, how was I going to find? I can't read anything in Russian. How was I going to find the text icon?
And the alphabet would have been in Russian too. So good luck with that. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, that is hilarious.
It was crazy, man. But that was the story of the weekend for sure. That I almost messed that whole photo opportunity up. But nope, got it done, man. Got it done.
And so how did our boys? Our boys did great. Obviously, Cooch got a couple of goals. The Atlantic wins it. They Vasi won both of the games. He got the win for both of the games. The stinking Panthers fans booed them unmercifully, which Vasi of course said he loved it. And I'm sure Cooch loved it too. So that was pretty cool. Give us a little update on how the weekend was for our guys.
I mean, from what I could tell, both of them absolutely had a blast. I mean, it's really about the camaraderie for those guys to be able to just hang out with, obviously some of the other league's best. But I mean, for those guys, I mean, you saw all the different Russian players that were on the bench with them. And I really got to talk to a lot of them, Shesterkin and Sorokin and obviously Panarin and all the guys that were there. I think those guys, obviously, what a cool experience for them to be able to hang out with the Russian brothers, but to just really soak up all the different events and stuff they had throughout the weekend. I mean, Vazzy and Cooch were all smiles every time I saw them. They just really were having a really good time, and they've earned that. So, like you said, they played well in their respective games for the Atlantic, and they got the win, and now they get a nice little check, a nice little bonus of that $1 million money that they won. So who knows? They didn't have a chance to ask them what they were going to do with the money if they won, but I'm curious to know if they just put that in the bank or are they going to buy a new car or go on a golf trip. I have no idea, but both of them showed out. I don't think Cooch got booed as much as Vazzy. I think because there were so many Lightning fans, and kudos to our fan base for really showing out and improving in South Florida. I mean, it's always a great event to see all the different fan bases from across the globe, but our Lightning fans traveled well. They always do. So I think when Cooch was being introduced for the game, you heard a lot of boos, but there was a lot of Cooches mixed in with that as well. Vazzy for sure was booed. But like you said, of course he's going to be booed. They don't forget. Neither do we forget.
Of course.
The Florida Panther fans you're going to boo the best in the world. It's funny too, because I was going to interview Vazzy at one point. There was like nobody left on the Eastern bench for me to talk to. I literally had talked to almost everybody. Jack Hughes, Pasternak, Dylan Larkin. I literally talked to everybody. And so Vazzy was sitting on the bench on the ice, kind of like by himself. And so I went over and I was like, Vazzy, you want to chit chat real quick? And at first he was like, cool. But then he was like, is it going to go in the arena or is this going like for TV? And I said, no, it's probably going to be for in arena. And he goes, I don't think that's a good idea. And I was like, you know what, Vazzy, I'm going to agree with you. I don't think it's a good idea because as soon as they see me sitting with you, they're going to boo. So let's not do it. And he agreed, and we both did not do it. And I'm glad we didn't do it because they would have just booed him the whole time. But he knows, and he's smart. He knows what those fans are like. So, but yeah, that's a testament. That's just a testament to greatness. That's really all that is.
Damn right. That's respect right there. All right, great stuff, my man. I'll see you this week at the arena. Tell everybody what you got. Third Leg Greg at Third Leg Greg. By the way, what's that about anyway? Anyway,
that's the old radio name. But yeah, at Third Leg Greg on Instagram and on Twitter, Greg Wolf TBL. We just dropped the Bolts block party today with Braden Point. We finally got him on the show after 4 years. JP, he's never been on the Lightning's podcast. And Pointer is on the show today. So definitely check that one out on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, great podcast. Really enjoying what you guys are doing. I can also hear it, I believe, on the Strike 102.5 HD2.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, check that out. Great content. You're the best, my man. Congratulations. You did a hell of a job, and thanks for sharing it with us on your Instagram. It really took us behind the scenes. That was awesome stuff. Thanks, buddy.
You got it, JP. See you tomorrow, bud.
All right. The great Greg Wolf right there. So we'll transition to from the best MC to the best reporter in the Lightning game, and that's the great Erik Erlendsson, who joins us now to talk a little bit more hockey. But I'll give you the floor for the NHL All-Star Game, my man. You've covered a bunch of them. LightningInsider.com, by the way, must subscribe. You've covered a bunch of them in a lot of different formats. I currently like this one. I'm a huge 3-on-3 fan. What are your thoughts on what you saw this weekend?
I don't think the 3-on-3 works as well as it should, honestly. Right? We think the best skilled players in the world, 3-on-3, up and down the ice speed. No, it's slow, controlled. We'll try and do some fancy stick moves. Even the breakaways are at half pace, right?
Right.
It's
not the same.
It's just hard. I mean, the league, all sports are in difficult situations nowadays with these all-star, all-pro games, right? Because none of them reflect the game in any capacity.
Right.
So they just try and come up with things to try and make it interesting. Remember, they had the World versus North America. They tried the fantasy draft. I was at that one in Raleigh when they tried that one. Phil Kessel was the last pick in the draft. He got a car for that one. So they've tried different things. I just think it's hard. I think the all-star game at the end of the day is great for the locals. Right. We saw that here in 2018. I don't know how well it translates on television.
Yeah, I probably agree with that. I thought flag football would have some fun to it, but when these guys are just going half speed and back in the day, it meant something because the money meant something to these guys. They weren't all making, 18, 12, what $1 million in football and, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 in hockey. So you can't incentivize them enough with money. Even with $1 million to the winning team, what's that? $40,000 to each player or whatever. Yeah. It's nothing for these guys. So yeah, I think you're right. And it just becomes, but I think, I don't know, for my money, the NHL All-Star Game is my favorite. So
it's fun. Look, it's a fun event. It's great to see, Nikita Kucherov skating with David Pasternak. I mean, come on, that's great stuff.
Yes.
But the game itself is it's just not much to it, in my opinion.
I agree. And also now the current format, it's like, how is Braden Point not an all-star? You know, I mean, come on. I know with the format, the way they have to do it, but and you know, we could say that about Victor Hedman. I mean, don't even have defensemen, for God's sakes, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is. All right,
well,
so let's.
The Atlantic never had a defenseman until who was it that got hurt? They ended up adding Rasmus Dahlin, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have a defenseman on the roster, so it is what it is. It's difficult. Everybody is going to have somebody say, "Why is this guy not in? Why is this guy not in?" I mean, Maple Leafs fans, when Matthews couldn't play, why wasn't William Nylander added, right? Like, so it's a debate that we have every year.
All right, so let's talk some real hockey now as the Lightning get set to go into the second, quote, half of the season. And I think if you're John Cooper, you really couldn't have wanted much more than what you got in that first half, right? I think, you know, with the changes on this team, how this team gelled, especially that last 3-game home set where they set the franchise record for consecutive wins at home against 3 really good teams headed for the playoffs. I mean, he's got to be thrilled for where this team is at right now, right?
I think so. You know, based on especially the struggles in October, right? Like, everybody's like, "Oh, what's wrong with the Lightning? They can't win games. They look old. What's going on?" You know, and they kind of found their groove about the middle of November, and they've been, for the most part, pretty consistent. And, you know, you talk about the loss of McDonough and Andre Palat and Jan Ruda and what they meant. And then no Anthony Cirelli for the first 2 months of the season, no Zach Bogosian for the first 5 weeks of the season. You know, they kind of navigated those waters pretty well. You look at what Nick Perbix has come in and done and really solidified the back end, which had a lot of question marks going into the season. I think there's still some question marks there, but we've seen a lot more answers, and I think maybe we anticipated by this point. Andre Vasilevsky is getting into Andre Vasilevsky territory now after a little bit of a rough start on his end. You know, Braden Point is producing. Nikita Kucherov leads the league in assists. Steven Stamkos is right up there and is on pace for what he did last year. There's a lot to like about what this team has done. They found a home. I think they've really settled in on their line combinations. And I think that's what the first half, quote unquote, half of the season was about for these guys. Who's going to fit where, who's going to play with whom, and what can we do to make sure we're getting points while we get there? And under those parameters, I think it's been a win to this point in the season.
You mentioned Cirelli there at the beginning, and obviously just 3 goals this season so far. And he's kind of had history, right, of going long stretches without scoring, but he does so many other things for the team. And just looking for more offense, I guess, from guys in the middle of the lineup or maybe in the bottom 6. Is he one of those guys that you think is probably the biggest candidate to kind of get things going here in the second half?
No doubt. You know, and you look at the way his numbers, his first, 2-3 weeks when he came back, he might have had the best chances of anybody on the team. They didn't go in, right? And that's just hockey. That happens sometimes. So, yeah, I think it is definitely something that you can look forward to, is him, you know, picking up his production here in a little bit of the second half. And you know, he's playing with Stamkos and Killorn for the most part. I know there's been some Hagel, Cirelli, Killorn has kind of been a shutdown line, especially the last couple of games on the homestand before the break. But yeah, I think he's a guy that you have to look for. And look, there's no doubt we've talked a good portion of the year about finding production from the bottom 6 forwards. You know, and it was good in that homestand, right? Pierre-Edouard Bellemare had a goal. Corey Perry had 3 goals. Ross Colton pitched in. So you're seeing, you know, the production that you want to see from those guys. But I think Cirelli is a guy that you can look to and say his production will definitely go up.
Erik Erlendsson joining us here. All right, so let's talk about possible additions here. Julien Brisebois, I believe, has, 719,000 in cap space, which doesn't even make the minimum salary. So they're going to have to do a player-for-player trade. There are some candidates out there. We never like to speak of the names, but it is what it is. You know, it could be Cal Foote. I've heard some people mention Ross Colton because he would bring the most back probably. What's your sense on what Brisebois might do? Candidates for leaving? What do you think?
Well, I love how every year when we have our sit down with Julien right around the time of the scouts meetings, and this one was a little bit after the scouts meetings. Oh, I just want to temper people's expectations. I don't have any salary cap space. I don't have any draft capital. It's going to have to be a player. What did he do last year?
Yeah, exactly.
Nick Paul, Brandon Hagel. Yeah, it is amazing what he's able to pull off here, specifically the last 3 years. when it comes to the trade deadline. But, there's two areas that they probably need to look at if they want if they're going to upgrade, it's going to come from. We just talked about one is the bottom six production and guys like that. You haven't gotten you haven't gotten as much out of Vlad Nemestikov as you would have hoped this season. I think you would have thought he'd be in the 15 goal range by the end of the season. He's nowhere near close that production. He's playing primarily in a fourth line role. I don't think you envision that at the start of the season with him. So if you're looking for an upgrade in that area, I think that's an area to address. And I don't think you can ever have enough defensive depth. And in this case in particular, I think it's very valuable for Tampa Bay because, a lot of people's eyes were caught last weekend when Nick Perbix was sent down to Syracuse to activate Rudy Balcers, and Balcers was put on waivers to send him down to Syracuse. I think that was a really clear indication that the Lightning, when you kind of step back and look at why the decision was made there, they probably feel they have enough forward depth, including in Syracuse, but they don't have the defensive depth, right? Once you get past the 8 who are on the roster now, and Philippe Myers, who spent the first month here but has been with Syracuse since then, they don't have a lot of depth, and they don't have a lot of NHL caliber depth on the back end, right? Trevor Carrick probably has the most NHL experience amongst defensemen, and I'm pretty sure he's under 20 games played at the NHL. Darren Raddysh is having a great year. He just won the hardest shot competition last night for the AHL All-Star Game, but just not a ton of NHL experience. So that's the two areas I think you have to look at if they're going to address, if they're going to bring in players. And knowing Julian, it's not going to be a household name, right? Blake Coleman wasn't a household name. Barclay Goodrow wasn't a household name. Brandon Hagel wasn't a household name. Nick Paul wasn't a household name. There's nobody's going, deep sea fishing here, right? You're not coming back with Patrick Kane.
No Bo Horvath.
Although that wouldn't surprise me, but you're not coming back with a Patrick Kane in this situation. You're coming back with depth guys, maybe guys who can win some faceoffs, although that's an area the team has drastically improved on over the last little bit here too.
And looking for one of those names on the blue line, I think we might have mentioned him in past times that we've had you on, but like a Luke Shin, right? Kind of reuniting that. And I think he's really cheap. I think it's like $850K.
Yeah.
I want to say is his cap hit. So you can get him in there. And obviously Vancouver's going nowhere. They're in a complete teardown. So does Luke Shin kind of fit that mold of what you're kind of describing?
He certainly would. He's familiar with most of the team. He's familiar certainly with the systems. The players are familiar with him. He's a great guy in the locker room. He brings that physical aspect, right? He's not going to jump out on you, jump out off the page with his skill set. But what the skill set that he does have is very valuable to a team, right? We saw that in the 2020 run in particular. You think back to that conference final against the Islanders and him and Pat Maroon sort of making sure that guys like Matt Martin and Ross Johnston were not going to be, taking too many runs in Nikita Kucherov. They were, he had a couple of fights in that series. So it's a valuable thing. The problem with that is a right-handed shot and all the attributes we just said about Luke Shen is a very sought-after commodity. And if you're going to get into a bidding war, look, the Lightning don't have a lot of capital. They really don't. They don't have a first-round draft pick the next 2 years. Right. You've got some guys in the system. I don't think they would hesitate to trade a guy like Isaac Howard, who was their top pick last year, who's at Minnesota Duluth this season, playing for them. A guy like Jack Finley and Gage Gonsalves and some of the other young players that they have in Syracuse. I don't think they would hesitate to move players like that if they felt that the player coming in would be able to help. But once you start to get into a bidding war, they don't have as many chips at the table as other teams.
Yeah, true. All right, so tonight they get back at it against the stinking Panthers on the road in Sunrise there, so Vasi and Cooch don't have to go anywhere. How important is this game vis-a-vis the playoffs going forward? Because, we might see them again. Florida's starting to surge a little bit. They have had, obviously a lot of changes in the offseason, which I think they were trying to, basically find a way to beat the Lightning, toughen up a little bit, kind of take Julien Brisebois' template, if you will. And I think obviously they struggled, but there looks like they're starting to put it together. So how big is this one tonight in terms of, maybe setting a tone for maybe later meetings?
Well, I'm going to steal something from Brian Engblom, who I think was with you on the last call on Saturday, that you just make sure you keep an eye on what's going on behind you in the rearview mirror. Right. Yep. You don't want to be caught from behind. And this is a game where you just mentioned the Panthers are kind of coming along a little bit. They've got some ground to make up, and they know that, beating the Tampa Bay team here would really boost them. Whereas in the opposite direction, if you're the Lightning, you just kind of push them down a little bit further. Keep your eyes on the road, but if you're checking what's going on behind you. So I think in that aspect, it's important for Tampa Bay here. I'm always curious, though, these first games coming out of a break. I mean, neither team has been on the ice for a week. They were both practicing yesterday. They've both been off since a week ago Saturday. You might get some shinny hockey going on tonight. There might be a little loose defensively. But, I mean, the one thing about the All-Star game is at least Andre Vasilevsky's seen a little bit of time, right? Yeah. I always get worried about if I was a GM or a fan, the goalie for my team going to the All-Star game. Not as competitive, obviously, but there's some competitiveness, and you kind of get the stretches. You always worry about that, but the other aspect is that he has faced some shots, and he's been on skates, and he's had his pads on, so he has that little bit of an advantage going for him. Whereas the Panthers tonight, they've had some goalie issues with the injuries because both Sergei Bobrovsky and Spencer Knight missed time before the All-Star break. Right. So Bobrovsky is going to get the start tonight for them. He's missed 5 games, so he hasn't seen any action in probably almost 3 weeks. Yeah. Right. So he's really coming in cold. So that's going to be interesting to see how the goaltending holds up on both sides, because I think Vazzy obviously already has an advantage being who he is, but the fact that at least he got some pucks the other day.
Yeah. All right. You tell everybody how they can get Lightning Insider and what you got going on, all your content.
Yeah, the website is lightninginsider.com. There's 2 ways to sign up. You have a yearly plan, which is $40, which comes out to about $3.50 per month, or the monthly plans, which are $4.99 as well. I'm going to put up a special code. I'm going to do it as soon as we get off here. I'm just JP is a special code. You get $10 off a yearly subscription. I'll make sure that that's up and running as soon as we log off here. So that's the written content, the Lightning Insider podcast, quick little recaps after games that I do. You can find that on all podcast platforms. And, of course, me and the Chief with the pregame skate show, 1 hour before every game. It's on the Strike 102.5 HD channel 2. Always streaming Lightning Radio 24/7, which is now on the Lightning app. Download the new Lightning app if you don't have it already. That's where you can find the 24/7 streaming content for everything Lightning related. So me and Chief, again, 1 hour before every game, and then home games, just like you and Brian. Post game, we're at Cigar City 1 hour before every home game.
Yeah, come on by and see us. It's a great little venue there. We're hanging out, chat with us, and we'll chat. We chat hockey. It's fun stuff, and you get really good beer at good price. Yes, absolutely. All right, Double E's, thanks, man. Appreciate you, and we'll see you at the rink tomorrow. Thanks.
Okay, buddy. Be well, boys.
This is hockey time now. Super Bowl is coming, and we'll be going. And as soon as next week starts, our focus is on Lightning hockey. And again, we tell you this all the time, folks. Do not take this for granted. Do not take this for granted. I know we've been in this run. It feels like since 2015 now, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. You could maybe back it up to 2013, really.
Yeah, I mean,
a long time.
8 years of championship hockey. And having a chance, I mean, look at all these other fan bases around the league and how long they've suffered. And it's easy to take it for granted, but we've got, at least in my mind, 3 surefire Hall of Famers on this team. You could probably go up to 5, and we're watching them play in their prime. And it's amazing. And the show that we put on, we're very proud of it at the Tampa Bay Lightning, not just the hockey, but the show that you get every game. And by the way, prices on the secondary market, especially during the week, are really, really easy to get tickets.
Well,
now. And on Ticketmaster.
Although I got to imagine, I just looked at the calendar and I'm reminded that Thursday night is going to be a fun one.
Who we got Thursday?
Colorado is coming into town on Thursday,
Ooh.
7 o'clock on ESPN.
Yeah, and guess who's playing? Braden Point. All right, in case you forgot. We'll see what these two teams look like with Braden Point on the ice.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Is that their first meeting this year, I think?
Yeah, I don't think we've been out to Colorado.
And Colorado's hot right now.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's going to be a fun atmosphere.
Lightning's pretty hot at home, too.
They pretty are.
Yeah, they're pretty hot at home. So that's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good one. And I can't wait to see Braden Point match up against these guys. I mean, obviously not the same teams from last year.
Yeah, they got some injuries as well.
But
this time around.
Yeah, but I'm excited about this stretch run. I really am. I think the Lightning have as good a shot as any team in the league. And I'll say it again. Vasilevsky, 60? What did I looked it up the other day? 68 and 32, I think, in the playoffs. Linus Ullmark 0-2. 0-2. I know he's killing it this year, but Playoffs are a different animal, and Boston's a great hockey team. But I will take a seasoned playoff goaltender with a couple of cups under his belt any day over Linus Ullmark. Just saying. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. Khris Lugo is going to join us at 11:45, and we're going to discuss Patrick Mahomes' ankle and also the incredible story of Ryan Jensen and the stem cell therapy that he received and what really is a groundbreaking rehabilitation of a knee injury and will be, I would guess, the way this league and injuries are going to go for the foreseeable future. So it's an amazing story. We'll do that at 11:45. When we come back, we'll talk a little college football, a couple other notes out there. We may even speak a little NBA. There was a big trade, Maybe? Okay, maybe. Back at 3.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years.
The boys are back. The PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Hey, folks, it's still engagement season, and we're better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source. The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmonton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or italianoinsurance.com.
Well, it's that time of year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 888-325-0605 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. Not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Oh, well. It all depends on your income and your family situation. It's a free call, 888-325-0605. They will ask for some income information. So if you have your tax returns available, that will be great, but you don't need it. They'll just answer some simple questions, and the highly trained reps will do the work for you to find out what your subsidy will be. 888-325-0605. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper. It's a free call, so find out, folks. This has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years, and you can choose your plan. It's a no-brainer. Find out. Make the free call. 888-325-0605. Get covered like me and thousands of others. 888-325-0605.
Hey guys, it's a new year, so are you looking for a new you to lose weight, lean up? There are many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there, but you know where to start? Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Khris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently, and many of these other approaches are designed for the masses, the quick weight loss, but it doesn't stay off, right? Khris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without use of drugs that only work temporarily. So call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. And Khris will join us each Monday at 11:45 to talk about your wellness and the significant injuries to athletes in the sports world. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Italiano Insurance, the Gold and Diamond Source, American Mortgage Services, and the Valspar Championship, which is coming up March 16th through the 19th. We're going to start to get some more announcements as we get closer to that. As far as players in the field, always a great field. Jordan Spieth is in here. More than that, though, it's going to be a fun event. So get your premium seating right now. They have a new rooftop ticket for you. It's going to be on 18, the roof of all the luxury suites. Going to be able to peer down on the 18th green, and there's going to be all kinds of bars and restaurants up there, or food offerings, I should say. And they're going to try to get a lot of folks up there, celebrities up there that you can hang out with and talk with. So that'll be the place to be seen, the rooftop. Got the Snake Pit passes as well, which is multiple hospitality places where you can get food and drink included there. And the Owl's Nest is always a fun one as well. So whatever it is, and don't forget Saturday night, Darius Rucker is going to be out there at Valspar. So can't wait for that. Did you run into Darius, by the way, at Charleston?
I did not run into him in Charleston, but we did pass his home.
Yeah.
Which he has a home there, kind of like on the water. If you know that bridge there that runs into Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
It's on that side there. And they did stop the boat a little bit and show you his home. Very
nice little pad,
extravagant,
little 3-2, 1,400 square foot bungalow, maybe.
A little bit bigger than a bungalow. Just a little bit bigger than a bungalow.
Yeah, actually, a friend of mine owns a breakfast spot that he frequents, and he's like, "Yeah, if you come in a certain time, you'll see Derek. He's always in there." So I'm like, "Oh, cool, that's good." All right, before we get to Chris Lugo is going to join us at 11:45. We're going to talk about the Ryan Jensen stem cell story, which we told you about a few months ago that he was going to go this approach, and the details of the story are out, and they're just fascinating, and it's going to reverberate through the medical community and the training community throughout the NFL. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. So we'll do that at 11:45. Some other stories we want to get to. Kyrie Irving traded to the Mavs from the Nets. And first of all, I don't see how this works for the Mavs at all. With Luka Doncic, who I think is the most ball dominant player in the league. He has the ball in his hand more than anybody. Getting a point guard in Kyrie Irving, who also likes to handle the ball quite a bit, but is also a great scorer in his own right. As we mentioned before the show, I think if Kyrie Irving was on Shark Tank, nobody would buy.
I don't think so.
But Mark Cuban
did, though.
Mark Cuban did.
Mark Cuban banking on the talent. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like last year, I feel like was so, we'll use that word again, noisy for Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on with Kyrie Irving, right? He was always in the news.
Yep. Mostly about the vaccine that he didn't want to take.
And this year
looks like a pretty good move.
This year, he's been really quiet. And I had been saying multiple times to myself, man, what's going on with Kyrie Irving?
Right.
Why is he so quiet?
Yeah.
The Nets are actually winning games. Kyrie's playing really good. It's a very quiet thing going on over there in Brooklyn this year.
Yeah.
And then Friday, I open up Twitter, and I see that he's requested a trade. And I'm still here wondering to myself, what could possibly be the reason why he wanted to be out of Brooklyn? I mean, he's there with Kevin Durant, who he chose to play with. They chose to team up in Brooklyn together.
Right.
Which I think their whole experiment, and they suited up in 74 games together. I think that's it. Over the last 3-4 seasons, 74 games.
That's it.
That's all they got out of those two together. And you have a team that I think is in 4th place in the Eastern Conference, a contender. And you request a trade like that, and the next day it's granted, just like that.
Yeah.
Just like that, gone. And to Dallas he goes. And then, like you said, Mark Cuban, who is very methodical, I feel like, with his moves and the type of guys he wants in his building, for him to bring in Kyrie Irving to a team that has already the face of the franchise, for a guy who kind of feels like he always wants to be the face of the franchise, I don't see the fit here.
I don't either. I don't get it.
And I don't think it's worth it.
The Mavs made it to the conference finals. I know they're not as good this year, but
and they feel like, and clearly they feel like Kyrie can get them over that hump, but the rest of the roster, I don't see it.
No,
I don't see it.
And for the Nets, I know they feel like they're going to make some moves now with the draft picks that they got.
They're in 2029.
Yeah, I don't get it. Well, I think they're going to move those draft picks, and they think they can get players back. Like, who's trading a good player for those draft picks?
Well, teams are hoarding those draft picks. I think that's why the Lakers, who I guess LeBron, was vouching really hard to get Kyrie Irving there.
Yeah, and everybody thought that deal was going to happen.
Well, there's the report that came out. I want to say it was from who's one of the big, not Woj or Shams, the other one, Chris Haynes. Chris Haynes was said that. I guess this is a big reason why that Kyrie's not a Brooklyn Net is Joseph Tsai, the owner, and I think Sean Marks, the GM. They don't like Kyrie Irving because the report was that they wanted to send him anywhere else but Los Angeles because that was his preferred destination. So they did this out of spite. So for all you know, Los Angeles could have offered a nice package to them, but it sounded like they were not going to send them there at all. But it was kind of ironic that after the Dallas thing, LeBron goes and tweets, "Maybe it's me." Very cryptic there. There's all these storylines going on now.
Maybe it is.
I don't know. Well, didn't Kyrie, he didn't want to play with LeBron anymore in the first place, and that's why he left them.
Right.
But this guy he went to Boston and killed that team. Now he goes to Brooklyn. He leaves that team in shambles. What's he going to do in Dallas now? He has shown you who he is his entire career.
Yeah. I thought Mark Cuban was smarter than this, but evidently he's not. And speaking of LeBron, tomorrow night he needs 36 points to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the leading scorer of all time in the NBA. And this should be a monumental occasion. I'm mildly interested in it.
I'm very interested in it.
I'm mildly interested in it, and I might watch that. I'm
enjoying. I said this when Brady retired last week that I'm going to try to enjoy the greatness in front of me from now on with a new lens.
Yeah.
Because I got to witness the greatest of something here in my backyard. So I'm going to try to enjoy LeBron James, because I do think it's absolutely incredible that this guy is 20 years deep, and he is playing at an unbelievable level. Incredible level.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a spectacle, and it's against Utah, which I find that ironic. Michael Jordan whipped up on Utah his entire career, and now the team that had Michael Jordan whip off on him is going to be the team that LeBron maybe gets the record against. So,
and speaking of stem cells, the longevity of these athletes, I LeBron, Brady, some of these others, I guarantee you that's part of it. I guarantee you, there's no doubt in my mind it's part of it. We'll talk to Khris Lugo about that in just a little bit. Very learned on stem cells. All right, so Alex Ovechkin, the new USF head football coach, finished up his recruiting this past weekend with the February final signing. Now there will be a kind of a spring transfer portal window where they can add some more players, and boy, they better add some defensive players. They only brought in 6 players to a defense that averaged giving up over 500 yards a game, the worst defense in all of college football, and they added 6 players. That's it. I'm going to be honest with you. I've not met Alex personally. I was at the sneaker soiree on Friday night, and it was a big deal a week ago Friday. I think it was, or Saturday. It was a big deal. I mean, there was obviously it's the who's who of all local sports is there. They brought in Glasnow and Godwin and Stamkos were up there doing a round table. Rob Higgins does a great job with the Tampa Sports Commission, and it's just a premier event. And they gave USF, as they always do, a premier spot. And Alex was up there with Rob, and the Big Show was the co-host. And I don't want to be mean, but it came off chomping the gum. It came off very sophomoric. It really did. And I try to keep it honest with you. I don't know. I got to reserve. I don't know the guy. I have not met him one bit. But I know USF fans, give this a little context, this sound you're going to.
Yeah, this was from his press conference, which I believe was at the end of last week. And this clip kind of went around from him. He's asked a question here, and you should be able to hear a little bit of it, about how their defense was ranked like dead last year. Only brought in 6 new guys. Is player development going to be a key part of what you're doing on your defense? And all you can hear the entire time is the smack of the gum. And then even kind of the answer to the question was kind of weird as well. So this was circulating, though, on social media.
Yelled in the room that your defense was last in the country in the FBS last year, that you bring back and only had 6 additions. How important is player development going to be this spring to try and get some of those guys that you have on your roster currently to step up in big roles?
Gotcha. We were last in the country in defense last year. That's not good, right?
That's it?
Yeah.
Is there more to it?
No, that was it.
He didn't know?
No, it sounded like he knew.
Right.
But it almost like he didn't like the question. Like he's like, yeah, obviously I know that.
Yeah.
That's what it come off, but it was just more people were talking about the gum chewing.
Yeah.
The loud smacking of the gum while the reporter is asking the question. Just
listen, I want to support USF, and I want to support Alex, and I do support him, and I want them to win. No question about it. But if I were doing some media training for Alex, I would say, when this is 101, you don't smack gum while you're doing an interview. You don't get up in front of a group of people at the sneaker soiree and smack gum while you're doing an interview. It's disrespectful to the person that's interviewing you. It's disrespectful for the people that are listening. You can't hear. It's distracting. It's not a good look. And for a coach in his position to fire back at a reporter for asking the most important question, and yeah, it is the elephant in the room. It is an absolute necessity to ask that question. All you did was sign 6 people, and that was the response. And on social media, if they're getting if he's getting crap for it, he should. That's embarrassing. And if I were Michael Kelly, I would sit down with Alex and say, okay, if that may be your trademark or something you do on the sidelines or what have you, but when you're doing interviews, could you please get rid of the gum?
Yeah, and I don't know. I have no idea what this stuff kind of translates to anything on the field in the grand scheme of things. I don't, but there's a professionalism factor there. And I that's what I was saying. A lot of people were rubbed the wrong way by the gum chewing, and that is there an SID to kind of speak up and hey, you might not want to keep doing that because it's starting to rub people the wrong way, and it's just unneeded negative attention, right? Is kind of the way I look at it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. After what I saw at the sneaker soiree, I thought someone would have mentioned it to him because a lot of people talked about it afterwards.
I've seen it in every video. I guess I don't know. I always knew that he was like that because he was kind of the same at UCF, but in the moment, I don't know. I just wasn't picking up on those things. But I guess one person said it, then it's now you're kind of looking for it. And it bothers you even more that you're looking for it. But in response to the question itself, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at it the last 3 years. You look at the first year at UCF and the last 2 years at Tennessee. His offenses have ranked, and this is nationally, 2nd, 9th, and 1st.
Pretty damn good.
And every year there in those 3 years, defenses optional at all three of those years. So I'm just saying, is it surprising that there hasn't been much advancement of the defense in regards to players brought in? Not really, because this is an offensive guy, right? And he's got a very experienced defensive coordinator in Todd Orlando, who's been at some big time programs like USC and Texas, right? Who's a veteran, and I'm sure he's going to leave all that to Todd Orlando. And he's going to focus on offense. And I know the offense was not really the problem last year. I think they were top 40.
Right.
But in his mind, maybe he thinks he can get this thing inside the top 20. Right. And if you do that, you're probably going to win more than not. You're going to win football games. So I think that might be where his focus is.
Normally that would be right. But when you're giving up 512 yards a game and 40 points a game,
it's a problem.
I don't care how good your offense is. You're not going to win a lot of games. You're just not.
Well, in this conference, though, with the teams that they're going to be playing, you can make an argument that USF might end up having the best offense of a lot of the teams they're playing.
They'll need to. But
I think even right now they do.
The other point is, as the face of the program, your charisma and the way you're presented to the public matters in a big, big way because you're always, every time you step in front of a camera, you're recruiting. Yeah. You're setting the tone for your university and people are watching. Dads are watching, moms are watching, kids are watching, and you need to present yourself in the best light and you need to be charismatic. And nothing about that says charismatic to me. And I will say that the recruiting class, there looks to be some good transfers and they brought in some people and that's good. But I would, if I were Michael Kelly, or Brian Seagrass, their SID, I would probably address that.
I was going to mention, when you talked about recruiting and everything, I will say, I think he's done an outstanding job so far with what he had to work with, how late he came in.
Yeah, tough.
They got this. I mean, I got it right here from On3, his sixth ranked recruiting class in the American, and that's with only 17 guys in, which is a smaller class compared to most in this conference.
That's pretty damn good.
It's pretty damn good. And then it's 78th nationally. And I remember when he took it over, it was down around 128.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so he's done a really good job.
He's brought in some big-time transfers from big programs. You never know, what they're transferring for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So, it's all. Listen, it's gonna whether he's chewing gum or not. He's got to win games.
He's just got to win games.
He's got to win games.
I think if there are going to be people that criticize this. If I'm being honest with you, a lot of people that were kind of making fun of it were the ones in Central Florida, which I'm sorry, I can't say that. Central Florida is a trigger word for UCF fans.
Yeah,
it's a trigger word. But anyway, I think a lot of it was coming there. I think USF fans are kind of just laser focused on just win some games, please.
Yeah.
We don't care what you do.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, Khris Lugo is going to join us from Bay Area Modern Medical Center. We told you about Ryan Jensen stem cells a few months ago. That was his preferred method of recovery. It is groundbreaking. The story in The Athletic is fascinating. Khris Lugo told us about this the last couple of weeks, and we'll dive into it a little bit more. I believe he's digested that as well, so we'll chat with him, and also about Pat Mahomes' ankle. How's that going to hold up in the Super Bowl? And we'll do some wellness tips for you as well. Quick break. Back with Khris Lugo, Bay Area Modern Medical Center in a moment. Stay with folks, it's still engagement season, and where better to get that special ring than the Gold and Diamond Source? The Gold and Diamond Source has the largest selection of engagement rings in the country, a literal jewelry supercenter with 30 times the inventory of any normal jeweler. You don't have to wait to spend any extra time waiting for them to bring something in. They have everything right there in-house, so why go anywhere else? And you can get up to 15% off this January if you buy something with the birthstone, which is garnet. Garnet and gold, Florida State, get something for your favorite Seminole. And let's not forget the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Very affordable, real gold and diamond jewelry, always stylish and unique. Emily has created this fashion-forward gold, diamond, and gemstone jewelry line ideal for everyday wear. Each piece is designed to enhance your look by featuring eye-catching, modern geometrical shapes. Really unique stuff. Got to check it out. And, of course, Julie and Steve Weintraub, great benefactors here in the local community. So let's keep it local. And you can get 0% financing for up to 5 years. Get a big ring for a little price. It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Omerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost relative or love? Or a missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach D'Antonio, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
Welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. And the man at BAMMC.com, Khris Lugo, joining us now. And good morning to you, Khris. And how about that? We were kind of all over this stem cells with Ryan Jensen. I'd got some intel a few months ago that this was his approach. And what you've added to the conversation, I think, has been absolutely fascinating with your knowledge of it. And you were saying, yeah, he's probably going down to Costa Rica or Antigua or something. And that's exactly where he went to get the stem cells. Have you had a chance to digest the story I sent you? Have you?
I did. I actually read it. It was pretty interesting. Not surprised, right? I mean, there's no way you come back from an injury like that without doing something.
So take us through this. You read the article. What did they do? How is this unprecedented? I mean, when I heard Ryan, I was in the locker room. I did the interview with him, and we were talking to him after the game. And he goes, yeah, I tore my MCL, my PCL, partially torn ACL. And he mentioned 3 other things that I didn't even know. And then to with 5 doctors saying surgery and 1 doctor saying, we might be able to do this in a better way. It's unprecedented. Explain.
You're dealing with a whole bunch of orthopedic surgeons. Their mentality is you break bone, me fix. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they do. That is Western medicine at its best. Then you have guys who think outside the box. You have surgeons who think outside the box. So one thing I learned in flight surgeon school was when everybody's looking up, look down, because that's when bad things will happen. So when everyone's saying, hey, surgery, and hey, if you don't want surgery, there's always an alternative. It depends on how long you want to go in depth with the rehab that's going to go with that.
So he got 150 million embryonic stem cells, and
which is standard dose. 150 to 250 standard dose is about 150. He probably got them injected straight into the knee, into the capsule. He may have also gotten an IV infusion. That would have been nice too, to do a little combination therapy directly into the area that's injured, but then also do a systemic IV infusion too of the mesenchymal stem cells.
So explain to the folks what this does now. Obviously when you get a tear in the ACL, and his wasn't completely torn, and that's important because if it's not completely torn, the stem cells literally regenerate it, right, and make it whole again.
Correct. Yeah, they're going to aid with that regeneration of that tear that are going to be needed in all different levels of the growth factor that's associated with those tears. You and I have them, Nick has them, but we don't have the abundance that we had when we were younger. That's why kids, when they heal pretty quickly, is because they got great growth hormone, they've got great testosterone, they've got great stem cells when they're younger. They're not aged. Now we've subjected ourselves to a whole bunch of things that have degraded our stem cells over time. And now they don't function and we don't have the quantity like we did when we were younger.
And I think another thing I read in the article, it said that there was so many issues with the knee, with the PCL, MCL, ACL, that traditional surgery, we've seen it's not a good outcome because you get a lot of scar tissue in there, all these other different things. So this was almost, it was groundbreaking. There's no question about it, but kind of explain why there was an opening here to do something better.
When you do something surgically, you're making an incision. You're going to be going through that capsule. You're going to be going in there with instruments. You're going to be putting instruments where they're not intended to go. Same thing with the abdomen. Anytime you have a abdominal surgery, you have already increased your chances tenfold of getting adhesions and scar tissue inside because these things are not intended to be inside your abdomen. Okay. Right. So when you go in there, you're going to do sometimes a little bit more harm than good trying to repair these things. And with all those ligaments that were torn, that would have been really invasive trying to go in and reattach all those. It's one thing, hey, it's an ACL tear. You're going in, you're attacking the ACL and the ACL only. Done. He had multiple ligaments that were torn on this one. So now you got to try to attack them at different angles. More time, more scar tissue. It could have been a worse outcome for him.
And Khris, do you think this is going to be, since it's going to be so public, is this the wave of the future? For
110%. Yes. Yeah. Now that this has come out, this is going to be mainstream media. This is going to be out there. People are going to be talking about this. This is going to be blowing up Antigua. This is going to be blowing up Costa Rica, Colombia, Panama, Royden's place down in Panama, which I think that's where Rogan went down, is to Royden's place. Mel Gibson's took his father down there to Royden's place in Panama. This is going to put everybody on there. Now, these are expensive things. You're looking at anywhere, because I've got about 6 patients who plan on going to Colombia here for anti-aging here in the next month. You're looking at anywhere from 15 grand to 25 grand, depending on the issue. Okay. And depending on how long you're going to be doing this for. I mean, these are once a year treatments. These are some things that you have to put in motion and set this ball in motion. If you're really going to dive into this, this is not something you do just once.
Yeah. So are we not doing this in the United States anymore?
We are. We're using stem cells, but we're not using the mesenchymal stem cells. We chatted about that before. These are the golden children. These are the ones who have the best ability to repair things and to proliferate.
These are the embryonic ones, because when I did it, they took the fat cells out of my back and spun them or do whatever. They did something in the back. Dr. Locks did this. I used to do endorse him, and he put them in directly into my knees. And for 5 years, it was amazing. I'm just now starting, and I don't know if you know the lifelong of this. Maybe it's about time I need to get a tune-up. But it's been amazing for me. I mean, I couldn't bend down to read a putt. And then suddenly, a month and a half afterwards, it was fine.
But you hit the nail on the head. Those were JP Peterson stem cells.
Yes.
So what they're doing differently is they would be taking JP Peterson stem cells. They would find the mesenchymal stem cells inside there. They would take that one out. They put it in a petri dish and then proliferate them, grow them out to 100, 200 million. Then instill those back. That's what we cannot do here in the United States due to FDA regulations.
Why not?
Because they believe that's causing more harm than good. Well, we'll see what happens with Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, this will make a big difference with that. Maybe they'll reverse that now that this has been taken down by the Supreme Court.
Interesting. So you were advising people to go down to these other places, and
sure.
What type of results are they getting? What are you hearing?
Oh, they haven't gone yet. My group's intended to go in March. Okay. These guys are pretty busy and they got deals going on, so they got to wait till March.
All right. Well, very interesting. We will continue to watch that. And if you need some information on this, obviously, BAMMC.com. Get in touch with Khris here. Now, I wanted to also ask you about Patrick Mahomes. We marveled at the way he played in the championship game. He's got 2 weeks off now to play again. It's my feeling, and I want to hear from you, that this is still going to affect him, right? It's a high ankle sprain. It ain't healed yet, right?
Yeah, this isn't going in. 2 weeks is not going to heal this area. He'll get casted up. He'll get taped up. He'll get cortisoned up. He'll get all sorts of stuff that'll make him tolerate the discomfort better, okay? But this is not over by any means. This is definitely going to take a rehab all off season into the summertime for this thing to get better. Like I said, most guys would tell you they'd rather break an ankle than get a high ankle sprain, because that breaking ankle is going to be better in 8 to 10 weeks. This thing is going to take months to get better.
And what about from Philadelphia's side? Their key injury is their right tackle, Lane Johnson, who might be one of the best players in this game, playing through a torn groin, a complete tear of his groin. And he played against San Francisco. And obviously now he's going to have the week off. What are the effects there, you think?
Oh, he's not going to be mobile at all. I mean, that side-to-side motion, that abduction of that legs, when you open up and you close your legs as a right guard, those guys always do that shuffling movements back and forth. Yeah. He's not going to be 100%. I don't see him playing out the whole entire game. I'll be honest with you. If he does, they're going to be utilizing that right side all day long and just annihilating him.
All right, I have a question for Nick. He's probably embarrassed to ask you.
Let's hear it, Nick.
He just went on his bachelor party. If you can, I don't know if you can see it, but he's a little bloated.
Don't do it, Nick. Don't do it. What are you thinking, Nick?
I was gonna ask him. I'm like,
You're done being happy. I'm sorry to hear that.
I feel like crap today. I'm not gonna lie to you. Right? I'm hiding here underneath my my camera. I am a little bloated. I had a lot of fried food. I had a lot of alcohol and mixtures of it. By the way, a lot of it. I need any tips, recovery. I feel like I need a detox.
So I actually wrote this down today because that's what I wanted to talk about: gut health. And look at it. This is like Nostradamus at its best.
There you go.
So gut health is huge. Gut health it's the 800-pound gorilla that people don't like to talk about, but gut health is really big. And things that we assault our gut with, a lot of the fried food, a lot of that alcohol, I'm assuming that you had, you really just did a lot of damage to all those good gut bacteria. So 60 to 70% of your immune function comes from all the good bacteria that's inside your gut. And by subjecting it all to processed carbohydrates, to alcohol, you really annihilate them. So I like to do gut health checks. I do them all the time on patients of mine. Yes, it's a stool sample, but that's the reason why you're feeling bloated at this point in time. That's why you're feeling so crappy. Sorry, it was there. It was there for the taking. Nice. But yeah, so the best thing you can be doing right now is hydrate with water, getting some probiotics, prebiotics, getting some psyllium husks in there, fermented foods, kefir, sauerkraut, pickles, anything, kombucha, whatever tickles your fancy that you could utilize. But those things are definitely going to help with that bloat and that feeling in your gut.
So what you're saying is I need to throw this away.
You need to get rid of the Dunkin' Donuts because how much sugar is in there
right now? This is a large hot coffee, no cream, 4 sugar.
Okay,
it's black with sugar.
But the sugar's not helping that situation right there.
No, it's not.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you cannot enjoy sugar. Like, look, my office is right next to Wright's Gourmet. Come on, they make the best cakes around. But it's not something I'm eating day in and day out. Okay, so you got to limit them as much as possible. I call it the big 7: rice, pasta, breads, cereals, potatoes, sugary drinks, alcohol, chips of any sort. You got to limit them. Not saying you can't enjoy them. You just got to limit them as much as possible, though.
All right, there's your hangover recipe.
Well needed.
Yeah.
Well needed.
And time. Got to take care of the time.
Exactly. All right, Khris, thanks so much. Tell
thanks, JP.
Folks how they can get in touch with you and get an appointment.
The best way to get a hold of us is either one, go to the website, the easiest, quickest way to do it, BAMMC.com. Book online. You'll see the schedule. You'll be able to book an appointment or call the office, 844-789-2266, which is BAM.
Khris Lugo, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Thanks, Khris. Appreciate it. We'll talk next
Thanks,
week.
JP. Thanks, Nick. You guys have a great one.
Yeah, the hangover cure, my man. It's you got to get off the regular stuff and get off the alcohol. I'm pretty much, I'm down to about 4 beers a week, four craft beers a week, if that. No Bud Light, none of the Miller Light, none of that stuff.
Hey, I was a little
Highly
adventurous this weekend.
What'd you do?
I had a Guinness at an
How'd you like it?
at an Irish bar.
I'm gonna say not as filling as you thought.
Not as filling and not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed it for a nice little change, like in an Irish bar atmosphere.
There you go.
It fits. Not an everyday beer, but
they got some great ones in terms. Yeah. Did they do a little? Did they give you a little design on the top of your Guinness?
Oh, I had a nice Guinness beer though.
Oh,
it was perfectly the foam perfect.
Yeah, it's better than a Bud Light. Damn, we're straight. All right, our thanks to Greg Wolford joined us today. Great stuff from him. Erik Erlendsson as well. Great lightning talk today, and Khris Lugo as well. If you missed anything, you can always download our app, FanStream Sports. Just tap that app. You can listen to the show anytime, anywhere. Just it'll start right up for you, and you can fast forward, do whatever you want. And also, obviously, on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. See you then.